Hare Krishna, welcome to this episode of Chaitanya Charitamrita. In today's episode, we will be reading from the 14th chapter of the Ādi, the childhood pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. We've already read until the verse 35. We'll start today from the verse 36. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नम ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So the last episode we had about, I think, 1.5 months ago, or even more than that. So there we have studied the conversation or the debate between Lord Chaitanya and his mother Sachimata. So that debate ended at verse 35, where the Lord lost the debate. Sachimata won the debate. It's about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eating some dirt. And in that, there was this philosophy of Mayavad and how Sachimata defeated the Mayavad philosophy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he was an infant. He was not even. So that means the Lord does not have to grow up to be matured in knowledge and impart teachings. Even at the tender age of infancy, he can teach. Of course, he played the role of an ignorant person, but whoever can speak can only speak because of the Lord. If the Lord does not will, nobody can speak. So, he caused Sachimata to speak the philosophy of Vaishnavism, and through that pastime, he glorified Sachimata. So Krishna, he does these things. So in this way, he even at the tender age of infancy, he was teaching. Just like at the tender age of infancy, he killed the Putana. So Krishna can do anything at any time. He does not become God at a certain point in time. He is always God. He can teach, he can kill demons, he can do everything that he does in a seemingly adult body. He can also do in the infant body. Um, there, even at the Markandeya Rishi, he saw Krishna on a banyan leaf surfing the waters of devastation. करारविन्देन पदारविन्दं मुखारविन्दे विनिवेशयन्तम् वटसपत्रस्य पुटे शयानं बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि. So, Kararavindena Padaravindam Mukharavindena Viniveshayantam. Mukharavinde Viniveshayantam. So that means Karar Aravinda means lotus. His lotus hand, with his lotus hands, he took his lotus feet and put it in his lotus mouth. Kararavindena Padaravindam Mukharavinde Viniveshayantam. As he was lying down. Vatasya patrasya puteshayanam balam mukundam manasa smarami. So the Lord is so powerful. Who can who can surf the waters of universal devastation as if it's like child's play? So the Lord is always powerful in any activity, even as an infant. So finally, the pastime ended, the debate ended by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepting defeat, and he sucked the breast of his mother and drank milk. So the next verse, 14.36. এই মতে নানা ছলে ঐশ্বর্য দেখায় বাল্য ভাব প্রকটিয়া পশ্চাৎ লুকায়. Thus, under various excuses, the Lord exhibited his opulences as much as possible in his childhood, and later, after exhibiting such opulences, he hid himself. Hid himself means not that he hid somewhere. No, he hid his supremacy. He again acted like a ordinary child. So, under various chole, nana chole, under various pretenses, as if he was eating, like in the debate with Sachimata, as if he was eating dirt. So, under the pretense of eating dirt, he actually taught a very valuable lesson in philosophy. So, in under such pretenses, he taught many things as he was a child in his childhood. अतिथि विप्रेर अन्न खाइल तीन बार पाछे गुप्ते সেই विप्रे करिल निस्तार. On one occasion, the Lord ate the food of a Brahmana guest 3 times, and later, in confidence, the Lord delivered that Brahmana from material engagement. Purport. The story of the deliverance of this Brahmana is as follows. A Brahmana who was touring all over the country, traveling from one place of pilgrimage to another, reached Navadvip and became a guest in the house of Jagannath Mishra. Now, this is the culture. Atithi Devo Bhava. Atithi Viprera. Atithi means, Tithi means date and time. That means schedule. Atithi means unscheduled. Unscheduled visit. And only the sadhus, the brahmanas, the Vaishnavas, the sannyasis, they are eligible or qualified to visit people's homes without invitation. Usually, you should have an invitation when you visit someone. That is the etiquette. But the sadhus are exempt from such etiquette because their mission is way more important than any engagement that the householder is engaging in. Why? Why usually it's scheduled meetings? Because everybody has their own priorities, their timings, whatever they want to do, they're doing. That is the usual etiquette. So you don't want to disturb or invade somebody's activity or something like that, privacy or whatever. But the sadhus are exempt from such rules and etiquette because their mission is more important than anything that the grihastha is doing. In fact, the grihastha's only business is to entertain such sadhus in his home. In fact, in this issue of Signs of Godhead magazine, the latest issue which we released on the Rath Yatra day, I think which will be posted to all the patrons of our temple very soon. And those who have collected it on that day, they will see. So in that magazine, there is this article that I have included. It is by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And the subject of that article is hospitality to guests by Grihastha in the Grihastha ashram. Very, very instructive article. Everybody should read. So Atithi, that's why it is called Atithi Devo Bhava. Atithi means uninvited guest is a representative of God, and it is not that any uninvited guest. It is referring to the sadhus, and sadhus are representatives of God, not sentimentally, but actually. That means they use their mouth to preach the message that God wants to tell these grihasthas. The God, Krishna, he speaks through the Brahmanas, the sannyasis, the devotees. That's how he sends us the message. And also, he eats through the mouth of the Brahmanas. I think just recently I think Namanita Prabhu gave that class in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Rishabdev is saying the glories of the Brahmanas. This Brahmana is actually qualified Brahmana, not somebody who's wearing a thread and a rascal at the inside. No. Hmm. न ब्राह्मणैस्तुलये भूतमन्यत् पश्यामि विप्राः किमतः परं तु यस्मिन्नृभिः प्रहुतं श्रद्धयाहम् अश्नामि कामं न तथाग्निहोत्रे. O respectful Brahmanas, as far as I am concerned, no one is equal to or superior to the Brahmanas in this world. I do not find anyone comparable to them. When people know my motive after performing rituals according to the Vedic principles, they offer food to me with faith and love through the mouth of a Brahmana. When food is thus offered unto me, I eat it with full satisfaction. Indeed, I derive more pleasure from food offered in that way than from the food offered in the sacrificial fire. So this is how the Lord, the Brahmanas are the representatives of Lord, and therefore they cannot be hindered in anybody's house. Not that no trespassing, don't come at this time, we are busy. The Grahastha cannot say like that. That is a sin on his part. Atithi Devo Bhava. This is the culture. Um, and while the Atithi comes at home, they will cook something, the Grahastha. And in that time, when he is waiting, or there will be message of Krishna. And that is the purifying factor. Not just he eats and goes. No. The input and there is output also. Output of Krishna's message. So, such Atithi was staying at Jagannath Mishra's house. You see, he became a guest in the house of Jagannath Mishra. And the other thing about inviting such sadhus at home is that the Grihastha, by regularly doing such duties of inviting devotees, proper devotees, he becomes um, he is relieved of the false ego that this house is mine, this property is mine. No, he is always using it as a tool to serve the Vaishnavas. In this way, he is gradually cured of such possessiveness. Nirmamo nirahankara samadukha sukha kshami. So these are the qualities of a great devotee. Nirahankara. So he has to become um, free from possessiveness. And that will not happen just by philosophical thinking in that way. That may be a start. But practically he has to apply that. If it is not mine, it is Krishna's. My so-called house. That's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings the song. Manas deho geho jo kichu mor arpilu tua pade nanda kishore. मानस देह गेहो जो किछु मोर अर्पिलु तुआ पदे नंद किशोर. That means my mind, body, my house. Geho means house. Manasa deho geho. Jo kichu more. Whatever may be mine, I offer at your feet, O Nandakishore. So this is the um, this should be the consciousness of a grihastha. Not only grihastha, everyone, and especially so in grihastha ashram, because griha means not just a house, because this is also a house, this is also a room, but this is not griha. See, there is this. One second, huh? Hmm. न गृहं गृहमित्याहुर्गृहिणी गृहमुच्यते तया हि सहितः सर्वान् पुरुषार्थान् समश्नुते. Merely a house is not a home, for it is a wife who gives a home its meaning. If one lives at home with his wife, together they can fulfill all the interests of human life. So, of course, this is for the materialist, not only materialist, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. That's why you see Ramachandra Bhagavan, even when Mother Sita left, he made a golden statue of Mother Sita and did the sacrifices. Because, especially so in the Grihastha ashram, there are many sacrifices to be performed. Of course, in Kali Yuga, it is to serve the Vaishnavas and no other and chanting. No other sacrifice will really work. But other than that, in other yugas, especially, and especially in Treta Yuga, where Tretayam yajato makhayhim, such um, yajamana, the main person in the sacrifice, who's conducting the sacrifice, he has to have a wife. The sages, who do the yajna, they may not have, but the yajamana, the king who's doing that sacrifices, he must have a wife. So in this way, if one lives at home with his wife, together they can fulfill all the interests of human life, and they perform all these yajnas and everything, and in that way they advance. But it's not that one needs a wife for spiritual advancement. No. In fact, one does not need her. Only if he is unable to control himself, yeah, then he can have a wife. Now here, merely na griham grihamityahor, grihini grihamuchyate. When one has a wife, then it is called griha, home. Hmm. So, anyway, this atithi viprera, anna khaila teen bar, pache gupte shay vipre korilu nistar. The story of the deliverance of this Brahmana is as follows. A Brahmana who was touring all over the country, traveling from one place of pilgrimage to another, reached Navadvip and became a guest in the house of Jagannath Mishra. Jagannath Mishra gave him all ingredients for cooking and the Brahmana prepared his food. This is another thing. The Brahmanas used to prepare their own food. If 20 Brahmanas stay together, they will start 20 fires and they will cook 20 different things and they will eat themselves. In other words, they are very, very cautious at with whose food they're eating, who is the cook of the food. So they don't trust anyone except themselves. So in that way they do. Of course, Vaishnavas, there is feeding of other Vaishnavas and all that. But Brahmanas, they will cook their own food and eat when they're traveling, when they're on pilgrimage. Not that they will eat somewhere, some karmi restaurant. No, they're very, very careful in protecting their consciousness because you are what you eat. Huh? That's why there is eating in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, and also transcendental eating, which is Krishna Prasadam. So, accordingly, persons are categorized or segregated. Chandal means a dog eater. Why? Why he has to be titled according to his eating? Because that is a symptom of his consciousness. If he can eat even dogs, that means he has no discrimination in what is good and what is bad, and completely in the mode of ignorance. You see, what is to be done, what ought not to be done, what is sin, what is piety, he does not know. So that is exactly the symptom of a person in the mode of ignorance. 1832, Bhagavad Gita, right? 1831 and 32, you see, passion and ignorance. Yaya dharmam adharmam cha karyam chakaryam cha ayathavat prajanati buddhi sapartha rajasi. O son of Pritha, that understanding which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, is in the mode of passion. And adharmam dharmamitiya manyate tamasavrita sarvarthan viparitamscha buddhi sapartha tamasi. That understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion under the spell of illusion and darkness and strives always in the wrong direction of Partha is in the mode of ignorance. So they'll do all opposite things. That means he is completely in the mode of ignorance. See? So, so what he does is a reflection of his consciousness. Our thoughts translate into words, which further translate into action, according to our determination in such convictions. If I am not determined in such conviction, uh, so like for example, when we are devotees, sometimes a thought may come, materialistic thought, but we know it is something stupid that we're thinking about, and so we try to, you know, silence it in our mind. We'll ask our mind to shut up, and we don't talk about it externally to people, and let alone doing it. But the thought may come of something materialistic, something sense gratificatory. Now, next, if I'm a little more convinced about it, I may start even talking about it. And if I'm further convinced, I may actually do it. Even after doing it, I may have regret, but my determination has gone to such an extent that I can actually do it. That means it only shows the extent of my convictions, my actions, my words. They show the extent of my convictions. That's why karmana manasa vacha sarvavasthasu sarvada sarvatra maithuna tyago brahmacharyam prachakshate. One who is on the spiritual path, he has to completely give up sense gratification, karmana manasa vacha, by work, by activities, by actions, by mind, by words. That is the level of a real brahmacharyam. Brahmacharati iti brahmacharya. One who treads the path of spiritual life is a brahmachari. Technically, I mean, the actual root meaning of the word is brahmacharati iti brahmachari. So one who treads the path of spiritual life is a brahmachari. Anyone. And of course, there is the ashram, brahmachari ashram. So, brahmacharyam prachakshate, one who is following the path of spiritual life, he must relinquish materialistic association by mind, body, and words. So, anyway, so he became a guest in the house of Jagannath Mishra. Jagannath Mishra gave him all ingredients for cooking. Jagannath Mishra did not serve him food, did not serve him prasadam. He gave him the ingredients for cooking, and the Brahmana prepared his food. Now, you may say, what kind of service is this? Well, one has to serve according to the wishes of the master or the guest. So if the Brahmana wants to cook himself and if I cook for him, he will be upset. Like Prabhupada said, if the spiritual master asks a cup of water, if you think, no, I want to serve the spiritual master better, I want to give him milk. Milk is more nutritious than water, and let me give him better, best thing I can give. If I bring milk for the spiritual master will be upset. I asked you for water, why did you give me milk? Don't try to be too smart. Yeah. So we have to serve the guests or the master according to his wishes, on his terms. So our service to the spiritual master, to the Brahmana, should be on their terms. And of course, their terms will be, in conjunction or in, um, consistence with the Vedic injunctions. It's not that they have some other weird wishes. That also should be there. Anyway, Jagannath Mishra gave him all ingredients for cooking, and the Brahmana prepared his food. When the Brahmana was offering the food to Lord Vishnu in meditation, child Nimai came before him and began to eat it. And because of this, the Brahmana thought the whole offering had been spoiled. Because when somebody eats it, when a child comes and eats something that is being offered to the Lord, it is spoiled. It has to be cooked again. Such food is unfit for offering. That's why food which is being offered to Krishna, before it is offered, it should not be seen by children and animals, because they are very greedy for food. Annamaya stage. So one should not greed or hanker for the food which is not yet being offered for Krishna yet. So therefore, by the request of Jagannath Mishra, he cooked for a second time. But when he was meditating, the child again came before him and began to eat the food, again spoiling the offering. By the request of Jagannath Mishra, the Brahmana cooked for a third time, but for a third time the Lord came before him and began to eat the food. Although the child had been locked within a room and everyone was sleeping because it was late at night. you know, Late at night, still he was cooking. The whole day he was cooking. Thus, thinking that on that day Lord Vishnu was not willing to accept his food and that he was therefore ordained to fast, the Brahmana became greatly agitated and cried aloud, "Hi, hi! What has been done? What has been done?" When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the Brahmana in that agitated state, he told him, "Formerly I was the son of Mother Yashoda. At that time also you became a guest in the house of Nanda Maharaj, and I disturbed you in this way. I am very much pleased by your devotion. Therefore, I am eating the food you have prepared." Understanding the favor offered to him by the Lord, the Brahmana was greatly pleased and he was overwhelmed with love of Krishna. He was thankful to the Lord, for he felt himself greatly fortunate. Then the Lord asked the Brahmana not to disclose the incident to anyone else. This pastime is very elaborately explained in the Chaitanya Bhagavat Ādi chapter 3. Of course, now it is known to the whole world, but at that time. So, so this was the story. Now we should understand that such a Brahmana who is offering this food is not an ordinary Brahmana. He's a pure devotee. In fact, now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has revealed to him that he is an associate of Krishna. In the Krishna Lila also he came. In the same way he was, you know, he was um, mocked by Krishna himself, and now by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. चोरे लया गेलो प्रभु के बाहिरे पाया तारस कंधे चढ़े आयला तारे भुलाया. In his childhood, the Lord was taken away by two thieves outside his home. The Lord, however, got up on the shoulders of the thieves, and while they were thinking they were safely carrying the child to rob his ornaments, the Lord misled them, and thus, instead of going to their own home, the thieves came back to the home of Jagannath Mishra. That means they brought him back to his home. So they were bewildered. So child trafficking has been going on since very long. Putana did it. Now here too, of course, Putana killed the children. Um, I mean here, these two, robbers, they robbed the child. They wanted to take all his ornaments. In his childhood, the Lord was profusely decorated with gold ornaments. Once upon a time, when the Lord was playing outside his house, two thieves passing on the street saw the opportunity to rob him. Therefore, they took him on their shoulders, pleasing him by offering him some sweetmeats. The thieves thought they would carry the child to the forest and then kill him and take away the ornaments. You see their intention. The Lord, however, expanded his illusory energy upon the thieves, so much so that instead of carrying him to the forest, they came right back in front of his house. When they came before his house, they became afraid because everyone from the house of Jagannath Mishra and all the inhabitants of the quarter were busy searching for the child. Therefore, the thieves, thinking it dangerous to remain, went away and left him. The child was brought within the house and given to Mother Sachi, who was in great anxiety, and she became satisfied. This incident is also very elaborately explained in the Ādi of Chaitanya Bhagavat, third chapter. व्याधि छले जगदीश हिरण्य सदने विष्णु नैवेद्य खाइलो एकादशी दिने. Pretending to be sick, the Lord asked some food from the house of Hiranya and Jagadish on the Ekadashi day. Purport. The Chaitanya Bhagavat Ādi chapter 6 fully describes the Lord's accepting Vishnu Prasadam on the Ekadashi day at the house of Jagadish and Hiranya. Regular prasadam is offered to Lord Vishnu on Ekadashi because although fasting is recommended for devotees on Ekadashi, it is not recommended for Lord Vishnu. Once on Ekadashi in the house of Jagadish and Hiranya Pandit, there were arrangements for preparing special prasadam for Lord Vishnu, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked his father to go there and ask for Vishnu prasadam because he was feeling sick. The house of Jagadish and Hiranya Pandit was situated about 2 miles from the house of Jagannath Mishra. Therefore, when Jagannath Mishra, on the request of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, came to ask Jagadish and Hiranya for the prasadam, they were a little astonished. How could the boy understand that special prasadam was being prepared for Lord Vishnu? They immediately concluded that Nimai must have supernatural mystic power. Otherwise, how could he understand that they were preparing special prasadam? Therefore, they immediately sent the food to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through his father Jagannath Mishra. Nimai was feeling sick, but immediately after eating the Vishnu prasadam, he was cured, and he also distributed the prasadam among his playmates. So, he's also teaching that prasadam is the ultimate medicine, especially from the materialistic disease, the disease of material life. This is the ultimate medicine. Um, what is that? सर्वव्याधि विनाशनम विष्णोः पादोदकं पीत्वा शिरसा धारयाम्यहम्. What is the first line? Forgot. Charanamrita mantra. Can I forget? So there also it is said, Sarva Vyadhi Vinashanam. So the Charanamrita is a medicine by which all the diseases can be cured. Now you may say, oh, but I took Charanamrita, nothing happened because of my faith. My faith is not so strong. Actually, Charanamrita and Prasadam, they can cure everything. In fact, they can cure the greatest disease, the root of all diseases, which is Bhavarog. Bhavarog means the disease of material life, which causes us to take repeated birth and death. Bhava means what? Bhava means become, to become. Bhava. Why is material called Bhava? Bhava Sansar. Why it is called like that? Because we become, every single life we become something. Or we think we become in our consciousness. Oh, now I became a human. Now I am a tree. Now I am a lion. Now I am an insect. Now I am a cockroach. Now I am a bird. So in this way we are always, we think we have become this particular body. So because we think like that, our bhava, our consciousness is coming from our bhava, what we have become. Our thought process is like that. So that's why it's called bhavarog. This disease of accepting illusory identities. Bhava means to become, the identity, to accept an identity. False identity, which is not what we actually are. We are eternally servants of Krishna. But we think we have become something. That's why it is called bhavarog. This identity crisis is called bhavarog. And Vishnu Prasadam and Vishnu Charanamrita is meant for curing this. Not only Vishnu Prasadam, even the devotees Prasadam and their Charanamrita. Bhakta Pada Dhuli Ar Bhakta Pada Jal Bhakta Bhukta Avashesha Teen Mahabal. So the water that has washed the feet of a devotee, the dust from the feet of a devotee, and the remnants of the food left by a devotee are Three very powerful substances in this material world. Maha Prasadam. So, um, in fact, उच्छिष्टलेपान् अनुमोदितोद्विजैः सकृत्स्म भुञ्जे तदपास्तकिल्बिषैः. What is it? 120, 1525. एवं प्रवृत्तस्य विशुद्धचेतसस्तद्धर्म एवात्मरुचिः प्रजायते. Once only, by their permission, I took the remnants of their food, and by so doing, all my sins were at once eradicated. Thus, being engaged, I became purified in heart, and at that time, the very nature of the transcendentalist became attractive to me. Now, you may say, what is there in the dust of the feet of a devotee? What is there in the water that has washed the feet of a devotee? What is there in the remnants of food left by a devotee? Now, if these three are the most powerful substances in this world, what about the instructions of a pure devotee? Now, why particularly it is instructions are not mentioned, but these three things are mentioned? There is a reason. Of course, instructions are the most important, right? But who will follow the instructions of the pure devotee, the Acharya, the Guru? Who? One who can have the humility to take the dust from the feet of the Acharya and put it in his mouth or bathe himself with that. How much you have to respect such a person that the remnants of the food you are eating, usually you don't do that, right? You don't. So it requires humility to actually bow down at somebody's feet. And when one is in such consciousness, not just bowing down with, you know, the body only. What is that? One second. See, Dandavat. Danda means stick. Dandavat means like a stick, falling down like a stick in front of the Acharya. Dorbhyam padabhyam janubhyam urasa shirasa drisha manasa vachasa cheti pranamoštanga iritaha. People think Sashtanga pranam. Sashtanga pranam means what? Same Dandavat. Eight pranam or respects, offering respects with eight parts of the body, eight limbs. What are those eight limbs? They think, oh, the hands, ears, they do sometimes like that, all these kind of things. They think it's all the physical parts of the body. No, you see here, Dorbhyam, the obeisances offered with eight limbs are made with two arms, two legs, two knees, the chest, the head, the eyes, the mind, and the power of speech. These are the eight Sashtanga Pranam. That means if I bow down to the spiritual master and if I don't chant the prayer of the spiritual master, that is not bowing down. That is not Dandavat. And also, not just the physical activity of bowing down and saying the prayer, but Manasa. What is Manasa? Gurumukha Padma Vakya Chittete Korya Aikya Arana Na Koriho Mane Asha. That is the meaning of offering obeisances. That means the instruction of the spiritual master is the only thing in one's life, and nothing else should be the activity of the mind than meditating on the instruction of the spiritual master and always engaging one's mind and intelligence in carrying out that instruction. So, this is the meaning of Dandavat Pranama. And such a devotee who can bow down himself with mind, body, and words, he can actually follow the instructions of the spiritual master. One who can take the dust of somebody's feet. That means his ego is completely gone, his false ego. That is why it is so powerful. If we can do that, then yes. But normally we don't. We have so many reservations. We don't unconditionally surrender ourselves to the instructions of the spiritual master, to the service of the spiritual master, to the body of the spiritual master. We don't. We have so many reservations. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And this is why we cannot follow the instruction. When Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to see if a particular person is a fit candidate for spiritual advancement, he would see whether he would wash the pots or not. Because if somebody is willing to wash the pots, humble enough to wash the pots, it's not a service in which you are seen, you know, it's in the background, and it's, a menial task, you know, it's a slave's task, right? Like a slave, you have to do it. You will not be really glorified, but of course, a real devotee will actually glorify such a disposition, such an eagerness to wash the pots and wash the, sweep and mop the temple, um, clean the toilets of the temple, and basically, taking up such acharan dasavan nicha, such nicha duties, that such seemingly, what is that, um, very very menial, yeah, that's the word, very menial tasks like that. If one can do, then he will do anything for his spiritual master. But if he does only white collar service, you know what white collar service, Prabhu, I will do just admin tasks, just those tasks which I don't sweat in, I don't perspire in. I just, manage other people. If I'm like that, it's just time before one falls down. One can only be a leader if one is a good follower. He has to follow at every step, everything. It's easy, you know, to come and boss around, not knowing what all needs to be done and what, where I can offer some service. It's easy to come and boss around. But if one actually does the menial service, that's when he will become humble, and that is the basis of all character. All good qualities start with humility. Humility is the base on which good character is built. And that humility is gotten when one can eat the remnants of food left by a devotee. When he can touch the feet and put the dust on his head. When he can drink the water and sprinkle the water on his head. These actions have to be done not just ceremoniously, but with full heart and soul. Hmm. That means not only the activity of doing it, but also with mind and body. And this has to be the consciousness all the time, not just while I'm doing it. All the time, I should be willing to follow the instructions. Um, Such a person can actually follow the instructions. So, next was Shishu Sabaloye Pada Padasira Ghare Churi Kore Dravya Khaye Mare Balakere. As usual for small children, he learned to play, and with his playmates, he went to the houses of neighboring friends, stealing their eatables and eating them. Sometimes the children fought among themselves. শিশু সব সচি স্থানে কইল নিবেদন শুনি সচি পুত্রে কিছু দিলা ওলাহনা. All the children lodged complaints with Sachi Mata about the lords fighting with them and stealing from the neighbors' houses. Therefore, sometimes she used to chastise or rebuke her son. Kene churi koro kene maro ho shishore kene para ghare jaha kibana hi ghare. Sachi Mata said, why do you steal others' things? Why do you beat the other children? And why do you go inside others' houses? What do you have? What do you not have in your own house? Purport. According to Vedanta Sutra, Janmadhyasya Yataha, since creation maintenance, this is Srimad Bhagavatam 111 and also Vedanta Sutra also. According to Vedanta Sutra, since creation, maintenance, and annihilation exist in the Supreme Absolute, whatever we find within this material world is already in the spiritual world. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna Himself. How is He stealing and how is He fighting? It is not as a thief or an enemy, but as a friend in a loving condition. He steals as a child not because he is in want, but out of a natural instinct. In this material world, also, small children without enmity or bad will sometimes go to a neighboring house and steal, and sometimes they fight. Krishna, also like other children, did all these things in his childhood. Without the existence of the stealing propensity and fighting propensity in the spiritual world, they cannot exist here in this material world. The difference between the material and spiritual worlds is that stealing in the spiritual world is done in friendship and love, whereas fighting and stealing within the material world are executed on the basis of enmity and envy. Therefore, we should understand that in the spiritual world, all these activities exist, but there is no inebriety, whereas in the material world, all activities are full of miserable conditions. Now, to understand this, you see what is Sachimata saying? It's actually a very deep sentence. It looks like just like an ordinary mother scolding a child, but actually it is very, very deep in philosophy. Why? You see, kiba nahi ghore, kene para ghore jaha kiba nahi ghore, kene churi koro kene mara shishure. So, what do you not have in your own house? You have everything. In other words, wherever the Lord is, the entire opulence is there. Shadaishwarya Purna. Shadaishwarya Purna. The Lord is full with six opulences. So, what is not there in his own house? Everything is there. The entire material and spiritual worlds are at his disposition, are at his, waiting to serve him. All the energies. Parasa Shaktir Vivadhaiva Shruyate. Everything is there. So she is saying, Kene paro ghore jaha kibana hi ghore. What do you not have in your own house? Why do you steal others' things? Why do you beat others' children? Why do you go inside others' houses? So, in other words, the Lord is self sufficient, Nijalabha Purna. He is personally going to others' houses, stealing their things. I mean, imagine you have to offer Krishna all your activities, but they are so fortunate that without their effort, Krishna, Naham Prakasha Sarvasyan, Yogamaya Samavritah. Krishna does not reveal himself to anyone and everyone. Uh, Krishna actually does not accept even our offerings. He accepts our offerings only because we are putting tulsi leaf and we are offering through the pure devotee spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. And because of his love for Prabhupada, he is accepting our offerings. Otherwise, we have nothing. Krishna will not accept our offering. But in this case, Krishna is running. Even that Brahmana, he stole. When Krishna is stealing the butter from the gopis' houses, and here when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is stealing others' things and using them or eating their food, how fortunate they are. That means in this statement of Sachimata, kene churi koro kene maraha shishure kene para ghare jaha kibana hi ghare. When Krishna has everything, why does he need to go to others' houses? This is precisely the point. Krishna has no need to come into this material world. In his own home, in Vaikuntha, he has everything. Lakshmi Sahasra Shatasambhrama Sevyamanam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Everything, almost millions of Lakshmis are serving him. Radharani is cooking. She doesn't cook a same dish twice. Every time it's a different dish. How much variety is enjoying? Why does he need to come into this material world? Why does he need to take in birth in somebody's family? Why does he need to take offerings from his devotees? Why does he need to do all these things? And when he comes here, he's criticized by the non-devotees. Why does he have to do all these things? What is there in this material world that is not there in the spiritual world? If you see Sachimata's statement in that way, you will see that is actually true. But Krishna is so merciful. What is that? Maya mrigam dahitaye psitamanvadhavad. Anvadhavad means running after them. What is this? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's glory. Beautiful verse. Extremely beautiful verse. This verse applies to Ramachandra Bhagavan, Krishna, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Three of them. Especially meant for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but also for the other two. त्यक्त्वा सुदुस्त्यज सुरेप्सितराज्यलक्ष्मीं धर्मिष्ठ आर्यवचसा यदगादरण्यं मायामृगं दयितयेप्सितमन्वधावत् वन्दे महापुरुषते चरणारविन्दम्. So, what is this? Maya Mrigam Daitayep Sitamanvadhavat. Running after, chasing. This is the mercy of the Lord. O Mahapurusha, I worship your lotus feet. You gave up the association of the goddess of fortune and all her opulence, which is most difficult to renounce and is hankered after by even the great demigods. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas. Lakshmi Priya, Vishnu Priya, they are actually goddesses of fortune. Sorry. Being the most faithful follower of the path of religion, you thus left for the forest in obedience to a Brahmana's curse. Out of sheer mercifulness, you chased after the fallen conditioned souls who are always in pursuit of the false enjoyment of illusion and at the same time engaged in searching out your own desired object, Lord Shyamasundar. So this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he is chasing after the fallen conditioned souls and saving them. So of course, in the houses he went, they are not ordinary people, great devotees. So for the Lord to come and steal somebody's things, how fortunate he has to be that without his offering, the Lord is so eager to take his things. Um, you know, just imagine the fortune, good fortune. So what Sachimata said is full of meaning. That is why Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanumashritam param bhavamajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. You see the statements of Sachimata, they look like ordinary mother's chastisement to a child, but they carry such enormous meaning. And this is how the Lord hides. And for those materialists who think that he's an ordinary child, they will be convinced. But in the same words, if you see, when you apply the same words with Krishna, they carry an entirely different meaning. So everything is the Lord. There is nothing that is, the Lord does not have, but still he goes. This is the mercy of the Lord. That is explained here by Prahlad Maharaj, 7th canto, 9th chapter, 11th verse. नैवात्मनः प्रभुरयं निजलाभपूर्णो मानं जनादविदुषः करुणो वृणीते यद्यज्जनो भगवते विदधीतमानं तच्चात्मने प्रतिमुखस्य यथामुखश्रीः. What is that? The Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always fully satisfied in himself. Therefore, when something is offered to him, the offering by the Lord's mercy is for the benefit of the devotee. For the Lord does not need service from anyone. To give an example, if one's face is decorated, the reflection of one's face in a mirror is also seen to be decorated. So if you decorate Krishna, you will be decorated. That means what? Oh, you put all the earrings and everything for Krishna, turban and everything, you will also have turban and earrings? No. Those are not the ornaments. The ornaments of the devotee becomes very satisfied and he is decorated with all good qualities. Instead, when one is focusing on putting earrings for himself, he's actually not decorating. It's a decoration on a dead body. He's decorated with false ego. What kind of decoration is that? But if he is always serving Krishna, then he is decorated with true ego. All his feelings, all his words, all his actions will be decorations because they're offered to the Lord. The Lord is the real jewel. Everything else is used in the service of the Lord. শুনি ক্রুদ্ধ হইয়া প্রভু ঘর ভিতর যাইয়া ঘরে যত ভাণ্ড ছিল ফেলিল ভাঙ্গিয়া You see now, the Lord is throwing a tantrum. Thus rebuked by his mother, the Lord would go in anger to a room and break all the pots within it. Now, what is the meaning of this now? Okay, let's read on. तबे शची खोले करी कराइला संतोष लज्जित हईला प्रभु जानी निज दोष. Then Sachimata would take her son on her lap and pacify him, and the Lord would be very much ashamed, admitting his faults. Purport. There is a nice description of the faults of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his childhood in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Ādi chapter 3. Now, just the sentence itself is very hilarious and meaningful at the same time, transcendently hilarious. You see, there is a nice description. It's called a nice description of the faults of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How can the Lord have faults? The Lord's faults are worshipped. Now, let's see. Nice description of the faults of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his childhood in the Chaitanya Bhagavat Ādi chapter 3, where it is said that as a child, the Lord used to steal all kinds of eatables from the houses of neighboring friends. In some houses, he would steal milk and drink it, and in others, he would steal and eat prepared rice. Sometimes he would break cooking pots. If there were nothing to eat, but there were small babies, the Lord would tease the babies and make them cry. Sometimes a neighbor would complain to Sachimata, "My child is very small, but your child puts water in his ears and makes him cry." So, you see, these are the faults. But when the Lord has to deal with the children like that, how fortunate they are. That verse is there. You know, 10th canto, 8th chapter. If I'm not wrong. No. Itham satam brahma sukhanubhutyam. 10, 12. 10, 12, 7 through 11. केचिद् वेणून् वादयन्तो ध्मान्तः शृङ्गाणि केचन केचिद् भृङ्गैः प्रगायन्तः कूजन्तः कोकिलैः परे विच्छायाभिः प्रधावन्तो गच्छन्तः साधुहंसकैः उपविशन्तश्च नृत्यन्तश्च कलापिभिः विकर्षन्तः कीशबालान् आरोहन्तश्च तैर्द्रुमान् विकुर्वन्तश्च तैः साकं प्लवन्तश्च पलाशिषु साकं भेकैर्विलङ्घन्तः सरितः स्रवसम्प्लुताः विहसन्तः प्रतिच्छायाः शपन्तश्च प्रतिस्वनान् इत्थं सतां ब्रह्मसुखानुभूत्या दास्यं गतानां परदैवतेन मायाश्रितानां नरधारकेण साकं विजहृः कृतपुण्यपुञ्जाः. Now, in this pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was making them cry. But here, there is another description of Krishna. All the cowherd boys of Krishna, cowherd boyfriends of Krishna, is described here. All the boys would be differently engaged. Some boys blew their flutes, others blew bugles made of horn. Some imitated the buzzing of the bumblebees, and others imitated the voice of the cuckoo. Some boys imitated flying birds by running after the birds' shadows on the ground. Some imitated the beautiful movements and attractive postures of the swans. Some sat down with the ducks, sitting silently, and others imitated the dancing of the peacocks. Some boys attracted young monkeys in the trees. Some jumped into the trees, imitating the monkeys. Some made faces as the monkeys were accustomed to do, and others jumped from one branch to another. Some boys went to the waterfalls and crossed over the river, jumping with the frogs, and when they saw their own reflections on the water, they would laugh. They would also condemn the sounds of their own echoes. In this way, all the cowherd boys used to play with Krishna, who is the source of the Brahman effulgence for Jnanis, desiring to merge into that effulgence, who is the supreme personality of Godhead for devotees who have accepted eternal servitorship, and who for ordinary persons is but another ordinary child. The cowherd boys, having accumulated the results of pious activities for many lives, were able to associate in this way with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How can one explain their great fortune? See, I mean, to be so intimately related with the Lord, you know, कभु मृदु हस्ते कैल माता के ताड़न माता के मूर्छिता देखी करो ये क्रंदन. Once the child Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastised his mother with his soft hand, and his mother pretended to faint. Seeing this, the Lord began to cry. नारी गण को हे नारी केल देह आनी तबे सुस्थ हईबे ना तुम्हार जननी. The neighboring ladies told him, "Dear child, please bring a coconut from somewhere and then your mother will be cured." बाहिरे जाया आनी लेन दोए नारिकेला देखिया अपूर्व होइलो विस्मित सकला. He then went outside the house and immediately brought 2 coconuts. All the ladies were astonished to see such wonderful activities. कभु शिशु संगे स्नान करेलो गंगाते कन्या गण आयला ताहा देवता पूजिते. This is next pastime now. Sometimes the Lord would go with other children to bathe in the Ganges, Ganga, and the neighboring girls would also come there to worship various demigods. Purport. According to the Vedic system, when small girls 10 or 12 years old would go to the bank of the Ganga to take their bath, they would especially worship Lord Shiva with prayers to get good husbands in the future. You see, at that age, 10 or 12 years old, that means at the time of their puberty, they're already praying for good husband. So this is not child marriage. It's not something, oh, it's an evil of Hindu past. No, 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 it's not. It's biologically the most sensible thing to do. It's not something to be shunned. In fact, today, at that very age, after puberty, girls are having so many sexual relationships with boys. And even if they don't, their hormones go haywire. It's so much agitation will happen for especially the girls. Boys are also, when especially they associate with girls. Today, everywhere it's co-education. What does that mean? Girls and boys study together. So when there are girls around, and the boys' senses will be agitated. That's why Vedic system, the boys are kept aside. Girls are never sent to school. They learn everything at home. All the household duties. That's what they have to be expert in anyway. Even after getting their degree or anything, they will end up in somebody's kitchen, and household. And that's not a bad thing. People think, oh, why am I just confined to the kitchen? No. That's actually the most correct thing for a woman to do, to take care of the household and the children. But the role is now, despised, ridiculed. And therefore, women themselves, they don't want to do that. So this is unfortunate. But the boys are sent to the Gurukul without any association with girls, and the girls are at home without any association with boys, and they are taught how to be chaste. That is proper society, that is proper culture. And they are trained how to become good mothers. That is the role of a woman in society. And that's why the highest respect you can give to a woman is to call her Mataji. Mataji means mother. But if the ladies are not interested in the role of the mother, what kind of Mataji is that? So anyway, according to the Vedic system, when small girls 10 or 12 years old would go to the bank of the Ganga to take their bath, they would especially worship Lord Shiva with prayers to get good husbands in the future. They especially wanted to get a husband like Lord Shiva because Lord Shiva is very peaceful and at the same time most powerful. They want peaceful and powerful husband. Formally, therefore, small girls in Hindu families would worship Lord Shiva, especially in the month of Vaishakha, April, May. To take a bath in the Ganga is a great pleasure for everyone, not only for adults but for children also. गंगा स्नान करी पूजा करिते लागिला कन्यागण मध्ये प्रभु आसिया बसिला. When the girls engaged in worship, when the girls engaged in worshipping the different demigods after bathing in the Ganga, the young lord would come there and sit down among them. कन्यार कहे आमा पूजा आमी कन्यार कहे आमा पूजा आमी दिबो वर गंगा दुर्गा दासी मोर महेश किंकर. Addressing the girls, the Lord would say, "Worship me, and I shall give you good husbands or good benedictions. The Ganga and Goddess Durga are my maid servants. What to speak of other demigods? Even Lord Shiva is my servant." So, this is actually a fact. He's not bragging, and he sitting in the midst of all girls at such a young age is not at all immoral for the Lord to do, because the Lord is anyway sitting in the heart of every single girl. He is seeing the girl naked every single moment, not only from the outside but from the inside also. So to accuse the Lord that, oh, he is, he is dancing with gopis and he saw them naked and all this. The Lord is seeing everybody naked all the time. When you go to take an X-ray, what happens? Your bones are visible in that. You may wear a cloth, but through your cloth, through your skin, through your muscle, the bone is seen. And if you take an MRI scan, your muscles are all seen. So if an ordinary machine can do this, can the Lord not do this? The Lord can see not only the naked body, the skin outside, but the brain, the muscles, the nerves, the bones, everything he can see. And he is the one who has given that to us. So what is immoral if the Lord is sitting amongst girls and either see them naked, if they're bathing like that in the Ganga, they might be naked. Either seeing them naked. What is the immorality in that? The Lord is always seeing everybody, all the time. There is nothing. The clothes don't cover his vision. He can see through anything. We forget. We calculate the Lord according to our own estimation and make stupid mistakes in commenting on the Lord. So we should not do that. Avajanantam mamudham manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajanantam mama bhuta maheshwaram. I am the master of everything. And people who do not know, they will think that I am an ordinary human being. This is what Krishna is saying. Now, an ordinary boy would brag in front of girls and want to show off. Now, it looks the same again. The Lord is saying, Lord Shiva is my servant. An idiot fellow, he may say like something like this. But when Krishna says it or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says it, it's actually a fact. If any other ordinary boy says, you will think that he's a crazy fellow. He's an idiot. But when the Lord says it's a fact. See? Purport. There is a misconception about the Hindu religion among people who profess other religions, such as Christians and Muslims, who say that in the Hindu religion there are many gods. Actually, that is not a fact. God is one, but there are many other powerful living entities who are in charge of different departments of administration. They are called demigods. All the demigods are servants who carry out the orders of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disclosed this fact in his childhood. Out of ignorance, sometimes people worship the demigods to receive some particular boon. But actually, one who becomes a devotee and worshipper of the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to go to the demigods for any benediction because he obtains everything by the grace of the Supreme Lord. The Bhagavad Gita 7:20 and 28 therefore condemns such demigod worship. कामैस्तैस्तैर्हृतज्ञानाः प्रपद्यन्तेऽन्यदेवताः तं तं नियममास्थाय प्रकृत्या नियताः स्वया. Only persons whose intelligence is lost and who are mad with lusty desires worship the demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. येषां त्वन्तगतं पापं जनानां पुण्यकर्मणां ते द्वन्द्वमोह निर्मुक्ता भजन्ते मां दृढव्रताः. But persons who are freed from all sinful activities and the duality of delusion engage themselves in the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with determination. Only the less intelligent worship the demigods for their various purposes. The most intelligent worship only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Sometimes we, the members of the Krishna consciousness movement, are accused of not approving of the worship of demigods. But how can we approve of this when it is condemned by Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna? How can we allow people to become foolish and hritagnyana, bereft of intelligence? Our propaganda is simply meant to enable intelligent people to understand the distinction between matter and spirit and understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the whole spiritual identity. That is our mission. How could we mislead people into worshipping so called gods and material bodies within this material world? Our position of not allowing worship of many hundreds of demigods was confirmed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even in his childhood. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung in this connection, Anya Devashray Nai Tomare Kahinu Bhai, Ei Bhakti Paramakaran. To become a staunch, pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without deviation, Ananya Bhag, one should not divert his attention to the worship of the demigod. Such control is a symptom of pure devotional service. And in Krishna's childhood, when the Katyayani Vrata, they were doing Katyayani Vrata, the gopis, worshipping Katyayani, a form of Durga, to get again good husband. He asked them to come naked before him, and he fulfilled that desire. When his father was worshipping Indra, he forbade him to worship Indra and instead worship Govardhan hill. And you know what happened after that? He lifted Govardhan hill, and he basically dissuaded his father and the entire cowherd community of Vrindavan to do demigod worship, from doing demigod worship. So similarly, here also, he is directly saying to the gopis, I mean the girls there, that all the demigods are my servants. So worship me. So he is again discouraging demigod worship. I think there is one Divakar in the comment section just writing things. Can you go like stop for a while and listen to the class? Learn something first. Don't just run your fingers on the keyboard and just write everything and anything that you want. This is not a platform for that. You just listen to the class. There is a lot to be learned here. Okay. Otherwise, you're always free to go anywhere and write your own articles. There are so many blogs you can open and start writing whatever you want. Otherwise, you come here, you please listen and let others also listen. आपनी चंदन परे भरे न फूलमाला नैवेद्य काढ़िया खाना संदेश चाल कला. Without the permission of the girls, the Lord would take the sandalwood pulp and smear it on his own body, put the flower garlands on his neck, and snatch and eat all the offerings of sweetmeats, rice, and bananas. Purport. According to the system of worship, when something is offered to deities outside one's home, it is generally not cooked food but raw rice, bananas, and sweetmeats. Out of his causeless mercy, the Lord would snatch the offerings from the girls and eat them, admonishing the girls not to worship the demigods but to worship him. This worship of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yajnaih Sankirtana Prayair Yajantehi Sumedhasaha. One should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead who appears in this age of Kali with his associates as the Panchatattva, the Lord himself and his associates Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Advaita Prabhu, Sri Gadadhar Prabhu and Srivas Thakur. In this age, an intelligent person worships the Panchatattva by the method of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and if possible, distributing prasadam. Our Krishna consciousness movement is introducing this bona fide method of worship in the Western world. Its members are going from village to village and town to town with deities of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, teaching people how to worship the Lord by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, offering prasadam and distributing prasadam to people in general. क्रोधे कन्या गण कहे सुनो है निमाय ग्राम संबंधे हाओ तुम्हें आम सबार भाई. All the girls became very angry at the Lord for this behavior. Dear Nimai, they told him, you are just like our brother in our village relationship. आमा सबाकार पक्षे इहा करिते नायु जाए नालह देवता सज्जना करो अन्याय. Therefore, it does not behoove you to act like this. Don't take our paraphernalia for worship of the demigods. Don't create a disturbance in this way. प्रभु कोहे तुमा सभा के दिलाए वरा तुमा सबार भरता होवे परम सुंदरा. The Lord replied, my dear sisters, I give you the benediction that your husbands will be very handsome. पंडित विदग्ध जुवा धन धान्यवान सात सात पुत्र हवे चिरायुमतिमान. They will be learned, clever, and young, and possess abundant wealth and rice. Not only that, but you will each have 7 sons who will all live long lives and be very intelligent. Purport. Generally, it is the ambition of a young girl to have a very handsome husband who is learned, clever, young, and rich. According to the Vedic culture, one is rich if he possesses a large stock of food grain and a very large number of animals. Dhanyena dhanavan gavaya dhanavan. One is rich if he possesses food grain, cows, and bulls. A girl also desires to have many children, especially sons, putra, who are very intelligent and long lived. Now, because society has deteriorated, there is propaganda to have 1 or 2 children and kill the rest by contraceptive methods. See, this is the reason why people are having 1 or 2 children. They kill the rest. But the natural ambition of a girl is to possess not only more than one child, but at least half a dozen. In exchange for the paraphernalia of worship, he usurped for himself. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to bless the girls to fulfill all their ambitions and desires. One can easily become happy and obtain the material benefits of a good husband, wealth, food grain, and a number of nice children by worshipping Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas at an early age, it is not necessary for his devotees to follow him by also taking sannyas. One can stay a householder, but one must be a devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then one will be happy with all the material opulences of a good home, good children, good mate, good wealth, and everything he desires. Therefore, the Shastras advise Yajnaihi Sankirtana Prayai Yajantihi Sumedhasaha. Every householder, therefore, who is actually intelligent should introduce the Sankirtan movement home to home and live peacefully in this life and go back to Godhead in the next. So, all the material comforts are not denied, or you know, they are all right if one is a devotee. Then he can handle anything and everything. So, one is not, what is that, prohibited from having children, from having a family. No. Yes, it is an entanglement, but if one is a devotee, then one can easily navigate such grihastashram, which is usually a dangerous platform. But with the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everything becomes very simple. कथंचन स्मृते यस्मिन् दुष्करं सुकरं भवेत् विस्मृते विपरीतं स्यात् श्री चैतन्यं नमामितं. This is the first verse of this chapter, 14th chapter. Things that are very difficult to do become easy to execute if one somehow or other simply remembers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But if one does not remember him, even easy things become very difficult. To this Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I offer my respectful obeisances. वर शून्य कन्या गणेर अंतरे संतोष बाहिरे भर्त्सना करे करे मिथ्या रोष. Typical girls, typical women. Purport. Hearing this benediction from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the girls were inwardly very happy, but externally, as is natural for girls, they rebuked the Lord under the pretense of anger. In modern, comedy, they call it manslater. Translator is a device that, or a person who translates from one language to another. Manslater means a device or a dictionary or what sort of sorts, which explains to the men what the women mean. Because when they say something, that's not actually what they mean. Usually, when they say it's all right, you can be frank with me, that means you can't be frank with them. Women don't work straight; they work crooked way. So they will say, "Be frank with me," but if you are frank with them, they will get angry. So that's how it is dealing with them. I mean, from personal experience, I'm saying. So, because in the matter of temple management, you have to deal with all kinds of people. Especially when you're dealing with women, this is a peculiar thing. They want honesty. They demand honesty when we want to tell them. But when you are honest with them, then they become upset. So, inwardly they were happy. Oh, nice. But externally, as is natural for girls, Prabhupada put it there. And it is there in the. Hmm. Yes, Prabhupada put it there. As is natural for girls. It's true. I mean, Krishna created them like that. What to do? To if that is not there, there won't be any drama, no. For things to rile up, for things to become agitated, for drama to happen, you need crooked dealings. And in the pastimes of the Lord as well, the gopis, they're not very straightforward. The gopis have so many, tantrums and all these things. So, what is actually happening in Golok Vrindavan? Krishna is actually dealing with all this drama there. That's all he's doing there in Golok Vrindavan. He is dealing with all this drama with the gopis. One gopi will suddenly become angry, and Krishna will make huge plans and big missions. Army of cowherd boys and cowherd girls, everybody, and even animals participate, and parrots. Everybody participate in the mission of satisfying that one gopi. Most of the time, Radharani. Many. I mean, so much drama is going on there. So, what is the Lord busy with? Dealing this kind of stuff, drama, um, and the Lord loves it. So, so purport: this double dealing is natural for girls. When they are satisfied within, they externally show dissatisfaction. Such feminine dealings are very palatable to boys who try to make friendships with them. That's true. Even in the material world, when a girl does this kind of thing, the boys find it palatable for a while. But after some time, when she becomes a wife and she does these things over and over again, he gets fed up because they don't have a conception of sannyas in modern society. They just put up with it or divorce or something like that. But in the Vedic system, there is sannyas. There is an escape route out of this. So these are all attractive features in the beginning, but later on they become very painful. That is the material world. But in the spiritual world, it's different. It's eternally going on, and there's no inability, fault in the spiritual world. If you see the Chitra Jalpa, the Brahmara Gita, Radharani speaking to the bumblebee when Uddhava came there, that whole thing is like this. Actually, Radharani is always in ecstasy of Krishna, but she is chastising him, she is admonishing him, so many things she is talking like a mad woman. But it is the female way of doing it. And gopis are the highest devotees, and the Lord enjoys it very much. But we cannot imitate this. We cannot imitate this in this material world. This is possible for such perfect devotees as the gopis. कौन कन्या पलायल नैवेद्य लइया तारे डाके कहे प्रभु सक्रोध हइया. When some of the girls fled, the Lord called them in anger and advised them as follows. Some girls, out of anger, they ran away from him. What is this nonsense? He's eating all our things. They were angry. Then the Lord advised them. যদি নৈবেদ্য না দেহ হইয়া কৃপণী বুড়া ভর্ত হবে আর ছাড়ি ছাড়ি সতিনী. If you are miserly and do not give me the offerings, every one of you will have an old husband with at least 4 co-wives. Purport. In India in those days and even until 50 years ago, polygamy was freely allowed. Any man, especially of the higher castes, the Brahmanas, the Vaishyas, and particularly the Kshatriyas, could marry more than one wife. In the Mahabharata or the old history of India, we see that Kshatriya kings especially used to marry many wives. According to Vedic civilization, there was no restriction against this, and even a man more than 50 years old could marry. But to be married to a man who had many wives was not a very pleasing situation because the husband's love would be divided among his many wives. To punish the girls unwilling to offer him the Naivedya, the Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu apparently wanted to curse them to be married to men who who had at least four wives. The social structure allowing a man to marry more than one wife can be supported in this way. Generally, in every society, the female population is greater in number than the male population. Therefore, it is a principle in the society that all girls should be married unless, therefore, if it is a principle in the society that all girls should be married, unless polygamy is allowed, it will not be possible. If all the girls are not married, there is a good chance of adultery, and a society in which adultery is allowed cannot be peaceful or pure. In our Krishna consciousness society, we have restricted illicit sex. The practical difficulty is to find a husband for each and every girl. We are therefore in favor of polygamy, provided, of course, that the husband is able to maintain more than one wife. So, this is the explanation of polygamy. It's not just lust of the man. Of course, lust of the man is there, otherwise, he would not marry. But also, it is responsible lust. At least the lust is dovetailed into some responsibility, not irresponsible lusty affairs. So, in this way, he can conduct his family life in within religious principles. Otherwise, it's just adultery, complete adultery, prostitution, and unwanted progeny. This is what will happen. Varna Sankara. What's the time? 9:15. Okay, we can go a little more. ইহা শুনিতে আসবার মনে হইলা ভয় কোনো কিছু জানে কিবা দেবাবিষ্ট হয়. Hearing this supposed curse by Lord Chaitanya, the girls, considering that he might know something uncommon or be empowered by demigods, were afraid that his curse might be effective. I actually spoke on this the other day, that, you know, when we want materialistic things in life and we pray to God or demigods for these things, we may be God fearing, but not God loving. And we are interested in our material. So they were afraid that they might get old husbands who have four co-wives. And because of that, they became afraid and they apologized to the Lord and did what he wanted them to do. So this is actually Kaitava dharma, cheating religion. Of course, the Lord employed this cheating to save them by making them worship him. But materially, if we are afraid of something, some material inconvenience, and because of that we want to worship, then all these things will be allowed. So all Babas and everybody will come, and they will say, oh, if you don't, then you will be cursed. Okay, I'll worship you. Then put the picture in the altar and start worshiping. And in this way, all kinds of cheating religion will happen because they're not interested in the God or Baba or whatever. They're interested in their materialistic life. And if this Baba can bless me with money, business, home, wife, children, husband, whatever, yes, I will worship him. So in this way, cheating religion starts. And maybe it's just a coincidence, but I will attribute everything to the blessings of the Baba. And then, oh, the Baba blessed me, that's why my business worked. So in this way, I, become cheated. But of course, the Lord used such sentiment of the girls to purify them. আনিয়া নৈবেদ্য তারা সম্মুখে ধরিল খাইয়া নৈবেদ্য তারে ইষ্টবর দিল. The girls then brought the offerings before the Lord, who ate them all and blessed the girls to their satisfaction. এই মত চাপল্য সব লোকেরে দেখায় দুঃখ কারো মনে নহে সবে সুখ পায়. When this cunning behavior of the Lord with the girls became known to the people in general, it did not create misunderstandings among them. Rather, they enjoyed happiness in these dealings. एक दिन वल्लभाचार्य कन्या लक्ष्मी नाम देवता पूजिते आयलो कौरी गंगा स्नान. One day, a girl of the name Lakshmi, the daughter of Vallabhacharya, came to the bank of the Ganga to take a bath in the river and worship the demigods. According to the Gaura Ganudesh Deepika, Lakshmi was formerly Janaki, the wife of Lord Ramachandra, and Rukmini, the wife of Lord Krishna in Dwaraka. The same goddess of fortune descended as Lakshmi to become the wife of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. तार देखी प्रभुर होइल साभिलाष मन लक्ष्मी चित्ते प्रीत पायल prabhur darshan. Seeing Lakshmi Dev, the Lord became attached to her, and Lakshmi, upon seeing the Lord, felt great satisfaction within her mind. साहजिक प्रीति दुहार करिल उदय बाल्य भावाच्छन्न तभु होइल निश्चय. Their natural love for each other awakened, and although it was covered by childhood emotions, it became apparent that they were mutually attracted. Purport. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lakshmi Devi are eternal husband and wife. Therefore, it was quite natural for their dormant love to awaken when they saw each other. Their natural feelings were immediately awakened by their meeting. So this is not something lusty. This is again the Lord reciprocating with his consort. Lord does not need to, but he does it. दुहा देखी दुहार चित्ते होइल उल्लास देव पूजा छोले कोइल दुहे परकाश. And when we say the Lord is attached to her, the Lord is only attached to his devotees. He is very attached, so much so that he is handpicked by the devotees, or he is completely under the, he is a slave of his devotees. Yeah. What is that? Aham bhakta paradhino na hi asvatantra eva dvija sadhubir grasta hridayo bhaktair bhakta jana priyaham. Sarathya parashada sevana sakhya dautya virasanana. What is that? I forgot. सारथ्य पारषद सेवन सख्य दौत्य वीरासनानुगमनस्तवन प्रणामान् स्निग्धेषु पाण्डुषु जगत् प्रणतिं च विष्णो भक्तिं करोति नृपतिश्चरणारविन्दे. Maharaj Parishit heard that out of his causeless mercy, Lord Krishna, Vishnu, who is universally obeyed, rendered all kinds of service to the malleable sons of Pandu by accepting posts ranging from chariot driver to president to messenger, friend, night watchman, etc., according to the will of the Pandavas, obeying them like a servant and offering obeisances like one younger in years. When he heard this, Maharaj Parikshit became overwhelmed with devotion to the lotus feet of the Lord. So he is very attached. He serves them. So the Lord being attached to Lakshmi Devi, Lakshmi Priya, is not lust. They both enjoyed natural pleasure in seeing each other, and under the pretext of demigod worship, they manifested their feelings. प्रभु को है आम पूज आमी महेश्वर आमारे पूजिले पावे अभीप्सितवर. The Lord told Lakshmi, just worship me, for I am the Supreme Lord. If you worship me, certainly you will get the benediction you desire. Purport. This is the same philosophy declared by Lord Krishna himself. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma sucha. Now, when the Lord says surrender unto me, and here the Lord is saying to Lakshmi Priya that you worship me. Now, this is not an egoistic statement. This is a factual statement. It's a mercy of the Lord is directly telling like this. But if anybody else does, it may be egoistic. But when the Supreme Lord does it, it's not egoistic because it is factual. And even if you say egoistic, what is ego? Identity. And we have false ego when we have overestimation of ourselves. But when the Lord says, I am the Lord of even Lord Shiva is my servant, when he says like that, that's not overestimation of himself. That's a fact. And therefore, there can never be false ego for the Lord. That is his true ego. So even if you say the Lord's statement is egoistic, that's true. And it is to be worshipped. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. Bhagavad Gita 18.66. People do not understand this. They are accustomed to flattering or worshipping many demigods, human beings, or even cats and dogs, but when requested to worship the Supreme Lord, they refuse. This is called illusion. Factually, if one worships the Supreme Lord, there is no need to worship anyone else. For example, in a village of a limited area, one may use different wells for different purposes. But when one goes to a river where there is water constantly flowing in waves, that water can serve all his purposes. When there is a river, one can take drinking water, wash his clothes, bathe, and so on, for that water will serve all purposes. Similarly, if one worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, all his goals will be achieved. Kamaistaistair hritagyanah prapadyantenya devataha. Only men who have lost their intelligence worship the various demigods to fulfill their desires. लक्ष्मीतार अंगे दिल पुष्प चंदन मल्लिकार माला दिया कोरिलो वंदना. On hearing the order of the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lakshmi immediately worshipped him, offering sandalwood pulp and flowers for his body, garlanding him with mallika flowers, and offering prayers. She immediately complied. She did not, hey, how can you say like this? Male chauvinism. She did not say. Immediately complied. प्रभु तार पूजा पाया हासिते लगिला श्लोक पढ़े तार भाव अंगीकार कैला. Being worshipped by Lakshmi, the Lord began to smile. He recited a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam and thus accepted the emotion she expressed. Purport. The verse quoted in this connection is the 25th verse of the 22nd chapter, 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Is it quoted here? Yes. Okay. That means 10:22-25. The gopis worship goddess Durga or Katyayani, but their inner desire was to get Lord Krishna as their husband. Krishna as Paramatma could realize the ardent desire of the gopis, and therefore he enjoyed the pastime of Vastraharana. When the gopis went to bathe in the river Yamuna, they left their garments on the land and dipped into the water completely naked. Taking this opportunity, Krishna stole all their garments and sat down on the top of a tree with them, desiring to see the girls naked just to become their husband. The gopis desired to have Krishna as their husband, and since it is only before her husband that a woman can be naked, to fulfill their desire, Lord Krishna accepted their prayers by this pastime of stealing their garments. When the gopis received their garments back from Krishna, Krishna recited this verse. Sankalpo viditah sadhyo भवतीनां मदर्चनं मयानुमोदितः सोऽसौ सत्यो भवितुमर्हति. My dear gopis, I accept your desire to have me as your husband and thus worship me. I wish your desire to be fulfilled because it deserves to be so. Now Krishna said, I will become your husband, but then he was not their husband. So how did Krishna fulfill that desire of the gopis? Because he was more than a husband for them. Ordinary husband, he, chastity for a woman is considered the topmost religious duty for a woman, right? Chastity to her husband. But the gopis were so advanced that the chastity to a husband is secondary. They transcended even that pure position. And they achieved such devotion to the Lord that they neglected their husbands. I mean, this paramour love is even greater than chaste love. That's why Lakshmi Devi could not enter the Ras Leela. She was not qualified. She did not have the chastity that the gopis had. Her chastity was limited by Swakiya Rasa, or accepting the Lord as her husband, as her husband. But to accept the Lord, even if he is not my husband, that is a totally different level. And Lakshmi Devi, despite all her austerities to enter Ras Leela, she could not. Means the chastity of Radharani and the gopis were way higher than the even Lakshmi, and therefore the gopis of Vrindavan are even higher than the Lakshmis of Vaikuntha and the queens of Dwarka. And even in today's, sometimes people criticize this. Oh, he is dancing with other people's wives. What is this Krishna? He's immoral. Yeah, he's powerful, but he's also immoral. It should not have been done that way. And the girls shouldn't have danced with Krishna when they had their husbands. What is this? They don't understand. They don't understand what is actually real devotional service. Hmm. Now, for example, when somebody, like a woman of this material world, she has a husband, but if she prays to Krishna, is that extramarital affair that she's interested in another male than her husband? It's not. So then, why the gopis should be, you know, derided for having their devotion to Krishna? It's the exact same thing. They had their husbands, but they were so devoted to Krishna. So, um, this is only understood if we hear it from a devotee, from a pure devotee. Otherwise, we will misunderstand the entire pastime. It is so confidential that even people of great intellect and moral principles cannot enter into the understanding of Ras Leela and the love of the gopis. They cannot enter into the understanding. It's beyond them. Purport: the gopis, the girlfriends of Krishna, were almost of the same age as he. Within their minds, they desired that Krishna be their husband, but because of feminine bashfulness, they could not express their desire. Therefore, later on, after stealing their garments, Krishna informed them, I immediately understood your desire and approved of it. Because I have now stolen your garments, you have presented yourselves before me completely naked, which means that I have accepted all of you as my wives. Sometimes foolish rascals, not knowing the purpose of the Lord or the purpose of the gopis, unnecessarily criticize from their own angle of vision, but the real purpose of Vastraharan is expressed by the Lord in this verse. You know, this is another thing. The Lord seeing naked, I have already explained. The Lord always can see us naked, even with our clothes on. So, but to see them naked is to give the confidence or the satisfaction to the gopis that the Lord has seen them naked and accepted them as, accepted the position of husband for them. And finally, Krishna is anyway the husband of everyone, right? Sukadeva Goswami, therefore, he uses the word pati in describing Krishna in this verse. श्रियः पतिर्यज्ञपतिः प्रजापतिर्धियां पतिर्लोकपतिर्धरापतिः पतिर्गतिश्चान्धकवृष्णिसात्वतां प्रसीदतां मे भगवान् सतां पतिः. May Lord Sri Krishna, who is the worshipable Lord of all devotees, the protector and glory of all the kings like Andhaka and Vrishni of the Yadu dynasty, the husband of all goddesses of fortune, the director of all sacrifices and therefore the leader of all living entities, the controller of all intelligence, the proprietor of all planets, spiritual and material, and the supreme incarnation on the earth, the supreme all in all, be merciful upon me. So he is addressing him as Pati in so many ways. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times the word Pati is used in this verse. See? What's the time? 9:30. Okay, 15 more minutes will do. এই মতো লীলা করি দুহে গেলা ঘরে গম্ভীর চৈতন্য লীলাকে বুঝিতে পারে. After thus expressing their feelings to each other, Lord Chaitanya and Lakshmi return home. Who can understand the grave pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's childhood, infant leelas, his boyhood leelas, his youthful leelas, all sound like ordinary males' activities. But each of them has so deep meaning. That's why who can understand the grave pastimes? Usually, when a person is easily seduced by a woman, he's not grave. He's not grave. He's easily agitated. So, but here he is saying, Gambhira Chaitanya Leela. Gambhira means grave, very grave. So, who can understand the grave pastimes of Lord Chaitanya? So, how is it a contradiction? Is it like you're saying one thing and saying another thing? Flattering, meaningless flattering? No, is very grave. So only a devotee can understand these things. Rahasyam hetaduttamam bhaktosi me sakha cheti. Others will think this is exaggeration, and that is an offense. To think that the Lord's pastimes are an exaggeration and the deep meaning behind them is an exaggeration is an offense. What is the fifth? Hari Namna, and what is that? Namni Kalpanam. All these glories of the holy name are exaggeration. Oh, by chanting one name, you will become completely liberated. All this is exaggeration. If you think like that, that is an offense. And to think that the Lord's pastimes are exaggerated too much when they're actually ordinary, just like anybody else's activities, that is also an offense. चैतन्य चापल्य देखी प्रेमे सर्वजन सची जगन्नाथे देखी देनो ओलाहना. When the neighboring people saw the naughty behavior of Lord Chaitanya, out of love for him, they lodged complaints with Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra. So, how can somebody complain about somebody when they love him? It is done to increase the sweetness of the pastimes. Actually, their complaint is not really a complaint. It looks like a complaint, yes, externally it does look like a complaint. But actually, they are narrating the pastimes of the Lord. Oh, he came to my house and he stole this and he made my child cry. Actually, they're relishing the pastimes of the Lord in the form of complaining. एक दिन शची देवी पुत्रेरे भर्त्सिया धरी बारे गेला पुत्र गेला पलाया. One day, Mother Sachi went to catch her son, wanting to rebuke him, but he fled from the spot. उच्छिष्ट गर्ते त्यक्त हांडेरो ऊपर बसिया छेन सुखे प्रभु देव विश्वंभर. Although he is the maintainer of the entire universe, once the Lord sat upon some rejected pots in the pit where the remnants of food were thrown after the pots had been used for cooking. Purport. Formerly, it was the custom of Brahmanas to worship Lord Vishnu daily at home and cook food in new pots. This system is still going on in Jagannath Puri. The food would be cooked in earthen pots, all fresh and new, and after cooking, the pots would be thrown away. By the side of the house, there was generally a big pit where such pots were thrown. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down on the pots very pleasingly just to give his mother a lesson. सचियासी कहे कहने अशुचि छुनीला गंगा स्नान करो जाए अपवित्र होइला. When Mother Sachi saw her boy sitting on the rejected pots, she protested, "Why have you touched these untouchable pots? You have now become impure. Go and bathe in the Ganga." इहा सुनी माता के कहिलो इहा सुनी माता के कहिलो ब्रह्म ज्ञान विस्मिता होइया माता कराइला स्नान. Hearing this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught his mother about absolute knowledge. Although amazed by this, his mother forced him to take a bath. She still forced him. Purport. The absolute knowledge explained by the Lord to his mother is described by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya as follows. The Lord said, "Mother, that this is pure and that is impure is surely a worldly sentiment with no basis in fact. You have cooked food for Lord Vishnu within these pots and offered the food to him. How then can these pots be untouchable? Everything in relationship with Vishnu is to be considered an expansion of Vishnu's energy. Vishnu, the super soul, is eternal and uncontaminated. How then may these pots be considered pure or impure?" Hearing this discourse on absolute knowledge, his mother was very much astonished and forced him to take a bath. That did not stop. So now we may ask the actual question. I mean, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has raised a point here. How to answer that question now? See, the food is cooked in the pot, and then it's offered to Krishna. So now the pot has prasadam touching it, so it is pure. So why do we wash it and why do we make it clean? Well, to use it for service again. That is one thing. But here there are earthen pots. Now, whenever whenever there are rules, we just have to follow them. So if we try to apply logic, after some time, the logic will fail. See, therefore, we have to just follow. Like if somebody thinks, oh, cow dung is pure, that means Brahmana's dung must be even more pure. No, it is not. It is impure. So if we apply logic, oh, if cow is pure, Brahmana, how much more pure? I mean, his tool must be more pure, no? But no, it's not pure. It is not said like that. So if you apply logic like that, it will not work. So therefore, we just have to follow the instructions. So if the pots have to be cleaned after the cooking is done, then we have to clean it. If something is said ashuchi or not clean, it is not clean. You know, like for example, when one passes stool, he must take a bath immediately. He must take a shower. He must cleanse himself. But the same stool is within the body until it is passed. At that time, he does not need to take shower. But once he passes the stool, then he has to take shower. What is the logic? Well, it has to be done that way. That's it. Because the Lord says that that has to be done. And if it is not done, that is impure. And therefore, it is impure. Because until the stool is passed, it is in the body, it's in the intestines. So, what is pure, what is not pure is dictated by the Lord, and we just have to follow. If we try to apply logic to it, it will fail. Hmm. So, the logic is that because the Lord willed so, it is. Like, for example, oh, we condemn animal killing, but then plant killing is there if we are vegetarians. Then where is the logic? You're also killing, they're also killing, where is everything is same? But no, you see, because the Lord authorized one of them. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati. And therefore, it is bona fide. And the meat eating is not bona fide. It is not a question of, that's why the veganism fails here. Veganism is all about no cruelty to the animals. What about cruelty to the plants? They don't have a voice. So they don't have blood like the animals, which looks gory and all and stuff. Their pain is indescribable. Um, so, and their life is also life. Why can we eat plants and not the animals? So the logic fails there. So if you observe anything like that, if you apply logic, it will fail because there is no logic because of this, because of that. No, the logic is that because Krishna wills so, therefore this is right and that is wrong. Because it is Krishna's will. That's for the basis of all logic is Krishna's will. If you take out Krishna's will from the subject and try to apply your own logic, there is no basis there. There's no base. So all logic is based upon Krishna's will. So we should understand that rational thinking nowadays, this so-called Western, scientific rational thinking, they don't take into consideration the will of the Lord, the desire of the Lord, what the Lord wants. Now, for example, in science we learn the law of gravity, but what made it so obligatory that no one can defy or no one can go against the law of gravity? It's not a rule of gravity which you may or may not follow. No, you must follow. There are some things which the Lord makes which we cannot disobey, and some things we have the independence to disobey. And if we do disobey, then we will have to suffer the consequences. It is not, disobedience does not come without consequences. Everything, all our actions are with consequences. So yes, we are free to act within the limitations that we can, but then we are also then signing up for the consequences. That is a contract. It comes with it. So if I want my own welfare, I have to follow the instructions of the Lord. But many things he does, the so-called laws of material nature, and that is also law of karma. It is a seeming independence, but actually it's not. When you seemingly have free will, yeah, you have free will. You can do whatever you want. But then the reactions of those actions is destiny. What is free will and destiny? Laws like gravity or the plants taking in the light of the sun, and they call it photosynthesis, a law. Everything is a law, right? Those are undeniable. You cannot break those rules even. Now, some things you may manipulate them, but then it comes with consequences. So, when we when there is a choice how we can manipulate, that is free will. But the consequences that we sign up for with that choice, they are called destiny. So, in this way, we have to understand that we are experiencing whatever we are now experiencing because of our past actions of free will or misuse of proper use of free will. And then our future will depend on our current actions. So it's not that I can do whatever I like. Yes, I can do whatever I like, but I also have to face the consequences accordingly. So this has to be understood very clearly. खभुपुत्र संगे शची करेला शयन देख देखे दिव्य लोक आसी भरेलो भवन. Sometimes taking a son with her, Mother Sachi would lie down on her bed and she would see the denizens of the celestial world had come there, filling the entire house. शची बोले जाह पुत्र बोला हो बापेरे मात्र आज्ञा पाया प्रभु चलिला बाहिरे. Okay, 9:45. Once Mother Sachi told the Lord, please go call your father. Receiving this order from his mother, the Lord went out to call him. चलिते चरणे नूपुर बाजे नूपुर बा चलिते चरणे नूपुर बाजे झन झन सुनी चमकित हईल पिता मातार मन. When the child was going out, there was a tinkling of angle bells from his lotus feet. Hearing this, his father and mother were struck with wonder. मिश्र कहे এই বড় অদ্ভুত কাহিনী শিশুর শূন্য পদে কেন নূপুরের ধ্বনি. Jagannath Mishra said, this is a very wonderful incident. Why is there a sound of ankle bells from the bare feet of my child? Now there were no ankle bells, but there was a sound of ankle bells. शची कहे आर एक अद्भुत देखिल दिव्य दिव्य लोक आसी अंगन भरिला. Mother Sachi said, I also saw another wonder. People were coming down from the celestial kingdom and crowding the entire courtyard. কিবা কোলাহল করে বুঝিতে না পারি কাহাকে বাস্তুতি করে অনুমান করি. They made noisy sounds I could not understand. I guess they were offering prayers to someone. বুঝিতে না পারে. She could not understand what they were saying. But they could only offer prayers, whereas the Lord was lying in her lap and sucking her breast. মিশ্র বলে কিছু হোক চিন্তা কিছু নাই বিশ্বম্ভরের কুশল হোক এই মাত্র চাই. Jagannath Mishra replied, never mind what it is, there is no need to worry. Let there always be good fortune for Vishwambhar, this is all I want. That means a devotee does not care about the demigods, nothing. Demigods are coming, oh demigods are coming, hey I also want to say, no, he was not interested. Never mind, whatever it happened. I want my child Chaitanya Vishwambhar to be happy, that's all. So it's again pure devotion. Usually if somebody important person comes, hey he came. Well, for a devotee it is like, oh he has come, that's good for him, he has come. So if somebody comes to the temple, yes we may offer him some nice reception and everything, but it is good for that person who has come to the temple, not that we are fortunate to see that person. No, that person is fortunate to come and see Krishna in the temple and meet the devotees. You should understand that always. So if a devotee like Jagannath Mishra, he does not pay much heed to the demigods, you can just imagine the position of Jagannath Mishra. They are only coming invisible and praying to the Lord, but he is personally the father of that intimate relationship with the Lord. Even the demigods don't have. That means he is much higher than the demigods, so much so that the demigods are not very important for him. Kita samasta sura Kshudra Rudra Pitamaha Prabhritaya Kita samasta sura. So this is explained in the Mukundamala Stotra 14th verse, that when one, drishte yatra satarako vijayate padadhuli kana. So when one achieves the dust of the lotus feet of Vishnu, all the demigods are as insignificant as insects. Not that he actually treats them like insects. He has full respect for them, but he is concerned with Krishna, and his respect for them also is because of their service to Krishna, because they are serving Krishna by their position as demigods. They are serving in a very big capacity. But even that is not as big as being the personal father of Krishna. So Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata are higher than even the demigods. But for us, we are not in that position of Jagannath Mishra or of the demigods. So we have to first of all respect the demigods because they are exalted servants of Krishna. And in that way, we have to give them all respects. We should not deride them at any point. But we should not worship them thinking that they are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is again forbidden. Okay, so this is where we will stop until 1482. Okay, so any questions or comments? Let's see. Let me just read these comments. Some unrelated questions which I'm not going to answer anyway. I will answer relevant questions. Okay, Nishita Mataji is asking. On the note of not imitating chastising the Lord out of love, something that's quite common in holy places like Puri or Vrindavan is to treat Jagannath or Krishna or talk of him, tease him as a friend, sometimes even rebuking him. Should that be discouraged? Now, what the Dhamvasis do, we cannot imitate. They may do in Jagannath Puri, yes, they may chastise the Lord while they're carrying him, to the Rath. That is their mood. But we cannot do that. If ordinary people come there, from other places, they're not Dhamvasis, Dhamvasis' relationship with the Lord is different. We cannot comment on them. But we should be guided by our own spiritual master, and ordinary neophyte devotees from, uh, other places, when they come to the Lord and tease him or do that should not be done. I don't know if they're doing that in Vrindavan. If they're doing that, then it's wrong. So this is not for us to imitate. There is actually a nice article by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I read the other day. He was saying that we should not hear the songs that describe the intimate pastimes of the Lord because they are not so cheap. So within general devotee body, devotee community, and in the presence of outside people, only those songs which um, highlight the dasya rasa, not the sakhya rasa, vatsalya, madhurya, but the dasya rasa. The songs which highlight the dasya rasa should be sung, and the glorification of Lord can be done, but not the more intimate songs which are the subject of Jayadev Goswami's Geet Govinda and Krishna Karnamrita, some maybe. Uh, they should not cross the boundary of reverence. Within general body of devotees, it should be Dasaras songs, and such topics should be heard. Therefore, Raslila should not be spoken among non devotees. These are more intimate pastimes, and they cannot be understood by them. Um, but of course, we have the Krishna book where the Raslila is there. We are distributing like anything to all the outsiders. Yes, that is fine because the pastimes of Krishna are explained by the pure devotee Srila Prabhupada, and he protects the reader from unauthorized understanding of those pastimes. So that is okay. Therefore, this should not be freely discussed. So this kind of behavior also, um, deriding him or teasing him, um, chastising the Lord, this cannot be done. Who are we to chastise the Lord? Nonsense. So we cannot do that. Who do they think they are to chastise the Lord? They are first of all rotten to the core. Millions and billions of lifetimes spent in the material world. Krishna is waiting for them, and then they chastise him for their own material nonsense. And what do they chastise him for, though? Because he did not give them the job or some promotion or some the children did not pass the exam. What is the chastising of for? So Divakar's philosophy is that we are all gods. That means that is the philosophy. That is the exact philosophy of a dog. So I'm not even going to respond to Divakar's comments because it's complete rubbish. You should have some humility when you're hearing. You don't have the right consciousness to hear the topics of Krishna. So humble up. Hmm? You you read Prabhupada's books. Otherwise, there's no hope for you. So please mend your consciousness. The way you're going, it's not correct. Okay? All right. So thank you very much. श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल, हरे कृष्ण.